Okay.
So for those of you just joining us, I am Heather Rebecca Wilson, and I'm a mindset coach for creative entrepreneurs. And today is the first episode of the Glamorous Global Entrepreneur, and our special guest is Mel Pharr, business coach for online coaches who want to make bank. So thank you for explaining what you do. I want to know, though, what were you doing before you decided to become a coach? Like, what were you doing before you were kicking ass, coaching tons of people, doing these amazing programs?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Sure. This is a funny journey, which I mean, like, you've heard some of it before, but I think, well, I want to preface it by saying that I've been talking to a lot of clients today, and like, it's so easy for clients to have like shame about changing direction all the time. And listen, I am a little bit over the whole, like, when my clients want to like do 10 different things in 1 month, they're like, no, I'm this coach, no, I'm that coach. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. But for my journey, it's like, I made a lot of changes, but every change I made, I kind of like stayed there for at least a year. And so no matter what I was doing, I started out as like a personal trainer at a club. And then I became a personal trainer in New York, going to other people's like homes and training them in Manhattan. And then I did personal training on Skype while I did it in person. And then I ended up coaching around sex and intimacy and relationships. And that kind of started to morph into like all kinds of coaching around life coaching, but then even into business and like stuff about money, because I started realizing that like no matter what I was coaching on, I was making money. Whether I was a trainer or I was an online trainer or I was a sex coach or I was a business coach, I was able to have like 5-figure months and like get stuff happening. And so I was like, gosh, I could talk about business all day long. I could talk about how to market what you're doing all day long. So those are a lot of twists and turns. But the thing is that anytime I made a decision about what I was going to do next, I like harnessed into that. And that was the only thing. I like had laser like focus on that for probably about a year at a time. And then when that felt like something I wasn't into anymore, then I just do something else. No questions asked. Didn't really give a shit if anybody cared or not. And now I think I've landed where I'll be for a really long time.
Awesome. Well, so we met in the academy, right?
Yeah.
Which is an amazing coaching program and business certification program. Well, business and coaching certification program run by the amazing Gina DeBee, one of our mentors. And so she talks about, yes, you want to make this certain amount of money at the end of this process, but it's more about the woman you become along the way. So can you speak to that? Like, who did you have to become to be this person right now who is just kicking ass in her business and has this amazing life? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm really glad that Gina like focused on that piece of, I think a lot of the time in business, we look to have certain tangible results because that's like an easy measurement of, yes, we're successful, and we can then say to people, hey, look what's happening. And don't get me wrong, that feels fantastic. And I think something that I at least didn't account for every time my business up-leveled and started performing at a higher level was all of the emotions that accompanied that. And like just realizing like, oh my gosh, my lifestyle is different now. Like, does this separate me from some of my friends? Does this separate me from some of the people who like don't want to play this game in this way? I don't think it has to, but when you change, people and things around you change. And I think Gina did her best to prepare us for that by saying like, hey, focus on who you're being and how who you evolve into allows you to create tangible results. So what I've been talking about a lot with my followers is during your journey, how you're creating intangible assets. And I look at that as like who you're deciding to step into. So for me, it was like my intangible assets I created was like just getting clarity. That's a very intangible thing, right? Getting language around what I do, which is tangible when you write it down, but not when you're thinking it in your mind. And then the other things were like investment resilience. I changed into someone who looks at investing in her business really differently, who looks at debt very differently, who looks at money in general very differently. And investment resilience, being able to be like, okay, I'm going to put this money and really trust that I'm going to get that back. That meant a lot of trust and faith in myself and my own decisions. And then I think also there's a certain amount of like releasing codependency, especially in the coaching industry. Not caring what other people think in terms of your marketing and just knowing if you stay true to your heart, you're good. Not caring about or not getting too wrapped up in taking responsibility for client results, which is impossible to do. That's a really tricky one for coaches. And And I think another thing is establishing boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Establishing boundaries, being choosy about your environment, the people you surround yourself with. Like as you up level, you do, you do start to like think in a different way and kind of desire things from a different perspective than you used to. And I think that being cautious of your environment, being really selective about your inner circle and stuff have been things that I feel like have brought sadness and have brought like a lot of celebration too, because I welcomed a lot of women in my life who are doing the same thing. So I think those are some of the things, like the emotional resilience you need to have the courage to play big and know that you lose some, you win some, but you're willing to take bigger results for bigger risks for bigger results. So it's all that stuff. It's all that emotional part of you being willing to play a bigger game, being willing to put yourself out there, and being willing to open yourself up to new people who are going to match the vibration that you want to go to. And none of that feels like an easy thing, but I think when all is said and done, it's worth it because you end up in the right place.
Awesome. Thank you. So speaking of vibration, you've got this amazing...
What she's going to say to me?
I know. What am I going to say? Oh my God. All right. So speaking of vibration, you've got a lot of awesome energy and you're super fun and you're always laughing. How do you keep your vibration high? Because I think a lot of people, can get off track easily. Mm-hmm. So what's your advice for somebody who's like, I'm really trying to do this, but I don't know how to, if I'm feeling really bad, how do I make myself feel better again? What can I expect? What should I be doing?
Yeah. I mean, remember the conversation we had yesterday about introvert, extrovert?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Heather and I were just talking the other day about introverts versus extroverts, and this kind of like will lead into stuff, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things is like, you got to know yourself really well as an entrepreneur. Like, what energizes you and what depletes you. And when you figure those things out, it's your responsibility to put boundaries around where you need them to make sure that you have energy to give. There's plenty of things I'm not good at, but one of the things that I've always been really good at is saying no. I love saying no. I have no problem with it. And I love putting boundaries in place because I know that when I'm a happy person, I do a great job at my work. And when I don't give myself what I need, I'm not a fun person to be around. And so, I was at this conference the weekend and this speaker was talking about the difference between an introvert and extrovert. It's not actually how you act around people, because most people I'm like, can be very loud and I laugh a lot. And I, especially in like small groups, mm-hmm. people can tend to think that I'm an extrovert, which is no way true. I'm completely introverted because those categories actually are talking about where you get your energy from, not how you act, right? So for me, I'm an introvert. I know for me, I need to have plenty of space on my own. Like I've been working from home for 6 years. I'm used to being alone. I love being alone. And then I like being with people and like small. That's why it's just me and Heather here this week. My husband comes home after work, but we get our time together. And that's really cool. But then I also get plenty of time during the day where I'm just in my office on my own and Heather's doing her thing and whatever. I know about myself that I need that. So I think sometimes that fear and that anxiety gets further triggered when you're not giving yourself what you need, when you're not putting those boundaries in place, when you're not being conscious of where energy leaks happen and then where you can get refueled. That's one piece. I think the other just general thing I would say about like staying on track, especially because you can get bright shiny object syndrome when you walk into this industry, is your mindset work. Everybody knows I'm huge in mindset work. Like, I suffered from crippling anxiety growing up, so I had no other choice than to start getting control of my thoughts. Because, whatever thoughts you're choosing are creating an emotion, which is creating a vibration. And if you want to be in control of all those things, you get really good at deciding to play by rules that you install. So I go through a process literally almost every single day where I have beliefs written that I would like to believe and don't yet believe, or I'm on my way to believing. And I truly believe that as I own those beliefs over time, that I will have the result that I want. So I match up whatever result I want in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. I install beliefs that I believe I would have should I get those results. And I read them with crazy amounts of emotion to create a vibration that matches those beliefs and results. I spend some time visualizing that with high emotion. And then I spend a little bit of time listening, is what I call it. Or you could say meditating, to just listen in and be like, what am I called to do today? What am I inspired to do? Because I'm a big fan of like following inspired action more than massive action. Totally into taking action, but also got my woo-woo side going on too. So that's kind of how I stay on track and keep super focused and not up in everybody else's business but my own.
Oh, damn. Okay. All right. Well, so tell us a little bit. Okay, so you talked about your morning ritual. What's like a typical day for you? Like, what's your routine?
I love this question.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me this the other day.
Know.
Somebody asked me to do a Periscope on this. My typical day. Heather knows this. I'm so excited. She gets up around the same time I do. Today we got up at 6:30.
We're early birds.
Yeah, man. 6:30 is on the earlier side for me, I have to admit. But like 7 o'clock, my alarm is almost always set for 7. I get up at 7. I try to do like resistance training. I'm kind of a gym rat. I really like that. Or we've been doing outside workouts. So I generally like to work out, get everything done within 45 minutes, an hour, sometimes take a walk. And I come back and do my mindset practice and that work. Take a shower if I'm really sweaty, or just sit in my sweat all day. Just gonna be really open about that. I don't have a problem with it. And then, so people know I'm nice and smelly goody.
Well, and you're by yourself.
I'm by myself in my house, right? I mean, my husband is like, please help me, somebody. But, but no, so I generally do things like one of my rules for a long time was like, you cannot work on your business unless you move your body in the morning and you focus on what's going on up here. I always have breakfast, never skip breakfast. I'm huge about that. Mm-hmm. And then I usually, depending on the day, like I go into client sessions. Today was a Tuesday. Tuesdays and Wednesdays I do client sessions from like 9 to 5. That's the only days that I coach. So then I'm just on the phone and I have 15-minute breaks with other clients where I have something to eat, focus on other things. And Mondays and Thursdays or Fridays are days to do group coaching calls. I write a lot of content for my launches because I love doing that, and then be on meetings with my team deciding like, where are we going next? When does the card open for the next launch? What's the program that we're really focusing on selling right now? So that's kind of a typical day. Does that answer all the little
that's awesome. Thank you. Well, so you mentioned your amazing husband, Rob, who is as sweet as pie and like loves you to death, and you guys are just so awesome to be around. So I want you to talk a little bit about what it's like to be an entrepreneur and have a really awesome relationship, because I think that there is a story floating around, in women's heads, right? Like, I have to choose between having a successful business and having a relationship I love. So can you speak to that?
Did I tell you that I had that belief before? Did I tell you that?
I don't know if you told me that.
Okay, so I love that you bring this up because this is a myth I would love to debunk.
Yeah.
My very first mastermind I was ever in, I was with a lot of women who, I was like 25, I was with a lot of women who were divorcees. Even the leader of the mastermind ended up getting a divorce like while I was in the mastermind.
Oh my God.
Which is, totally fine. It's just like a different, part of life. But at that point in my life, I attracted a tribe where that was a circumstance with many women in the group. And I was in a relationship at that time where I think my partner even said to me, what if you become so successful that our relationship becomes obsolete? And like the second those words came out of my partner's mouth, it was over. It didn't end right then, but I just knew. I was like, oh no. Yeah. Like I can't spend my energy trying to convince somebody that they're enough. I'm not available for it. And I want somebody to be able to hold me and celebrate me so strongly that they're unfazed, which is how my husband is now. Mm-hmm. And I want to be able to do that for them too. It's totally a two-way street, right? But I just felt like, oh, this is going to crumble. So for many years, because of those things I just shared, I was like, oh shit, I'm going to have to choose between having an incredible partner or having an incredible business. And I was terrified of that. When I first met my husband, I remember saying to him, like, I was so fearful, and I was like, listen, I like you, but I don't want to put years of time into this if it's not going to work. And I'm like, if somebody said that to me about coaching with me, I'd be like, well, I'm not the right coach for you. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, there's risks to life, figure it out. And I finally convinced myself that, like, I was the first person to tell Rob I loved him, which is huge. Like, I had a rule. I would never tell a man that I loved him before he said it. And I remember one day I was like, I love you. And it was a really cute story. But it was like, I had to be willing to start thinking about this differently. And what ended up happening is I met him, and he was so supportive of my business. He was unfazed by anything, totally unthreatened. As excited as I was, when I would see him, he'd be like, how's everything going? And all of a sudden I was like, oh, I've been doing a lot of inner work, being like, there is someone who can hold this space for me and I can hold it for them. Like there is somebody who is just like, my win is their win. And then when Rob came into my life, I actually tried to break up with him 3 times. Not a smart girl. And then as I kept kind of like putting myself back in the game, all of a sudden he just, he said something like, that's okay, we'll be friends and you'll see how brilliant I am. And I was like, ooh. And then I did see how brilliant he was. And I was like, you are a winner. And so I just am grateful for his patience, because I just found that what I had really been seeking in a partner was like absolutely there. So over time, it took me installing new beliefs and like focusing more on what I wanted in a partner than what I didn't want. And eventually that came to fruition. And then once I realized that's what it was, I was like, I'm not letting this one go.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're a woman entrepreneur who's just starting to date, right? Ooh. So give her some advice. Like, what should she be looking for in a partner?
Yeah, my first piece of advice is date multiple people at once. I'm saying that because this is the thing. There's nothing worse than, and I'm not good even to like hear stories about this. Sorry, I love all of you ladies. There's nothing worse than a woman who monopolizes every conversation because she's waiting for a text from the one lone man that she's dating. Yeah. And the man can feel it. He can feel how desperate you are. So stop it. And I love you, but stop it. That's the first thing I would say. Okay. I dated multiple people when I met Rob. And it actually, like, I remember I was out with this one guy and I was like, I miss Rob right now. And so it like really highlighted what I liked and what I didn't. It like, there was always somebody to have fun with and like go on a date with. And it just kind of like kept me in my power instead of giving it away to one person. So that's the first thing. Like, diversify, girl. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Try them all out. Oh my God.
I love it. It's very empowering.
It is.
Yeah. Keep talking.
And the only thing my mom's so sweet. I love her. She said something to me when I was really young. She said plenty of things that made no sense around dating that kind of scarred me for life. Love you, Mom. But you'll never watch a Blab anyway. But like one of the things that she said to me was like kindness. Like, find a kind man. Even though I dated women most of my life, she still said, find a kind man. And I was like, well, you might get lucky. So I like the whole thing about kindness, really something stayed with me. And I was like, yes. Yeah. Because as relationships keep going on, like something does change. And for you to feel like that person is a friend and a partner is huge. Also, the best way that I found Rob was like, I went and did activities that fulfilled me and turned me on instead of going out anywhere I could looking for a man. My intention to go any place was never so I could find someone. I like met Rob playing soccer because I love to play soccer. And so I would play soccer. I do pottery. I do rock climbing. Like, I go to conferences. And they were all to fulfill me first. They weren't to sit there and go shopping for somebody because, again, people can smell that and it's not attractive. So I like fulfilled what was important to me. And I never, anytime I ever tried to meet anybody, it was by going to something that was an activity that I enjoyed. Nice. So it's like I wasn't like hanging out in bars. I tried that a little bit and picked up some real winners. So it was like more things that were of interest to me. And actually, I'm not a very big drinker, and I knew that if I went to a soccer game at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, that people would either, like, I could tell all the guys that were still drunk or the girls who were still drunk, and I could tell the guys who were, like, sober and, like, clearly they just went to bed on a Saturday night and got up, and I kind of was shopping around for somebody like that, and Rob is kind of an old man, sexy, English, like that style, so, and he doesn't drink, so it works well for us.
Awesome. And so how do you balance working really hard in your business and achieving all the business goals that you want to and having your awesome relationship? Like, what's the dance that kind of has to happen? Yeah.
I will say in the beginning of building my business, I put in a lot more hours and I was far less efficient. You know, a lot of the assets that you're trying to build are getting good at finding your voice, getting good at writing copy, getting good at communicating with your clients, and just being efficient at all the things that an online coach does. At the beginning, I just wasn't as good at them. Yeah. And I didn't have enough resources to delegate as much. So at the beginning, I pulled longer hours. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there were times where I was like, Rob, I'm not seeing you as much. But I never lost 8 hours of sleep. I never didn't work out 3 days a week. I never skipped breakfast or skipped meals. You know, like I made it a non-negotiable to take care of myself because that's just not something that I'm willing to sacrifice. So I encourage my clients to really write their own rules. Like, how do you want to grow your business? What are things that you're not willing to negotiate about in terms of taking care of yourself? And everybody has a choice to do that. So I'm not available for excuses about it from you or myself. But the other thing is, as my business have grown, the only two things I do in my business is write content and coach clients, whether it's one-on-one or group.
Yeah.
I don't do anything else. Yeah. And I can write content so fast, it's stupid now, even though it used to take me 9 hours to write one solo mailer, which is terrifying. But that's the only two things I do. I write content, I coach clients. My team does everything else. And so Rob and I also plan 2 date nights a month that include mystery, naughtiness, and suspense.
What?
It's pretty fun.
It.
So the other person doesn't know what's going on. They just know what to get dressed in. That's about it. So, and we just spend tons of time together. Even if it's only like a couple hours when he gets home, we like sit together. We do a lot of cuddling. We have conversations and whatever. So it's just kind of a choice you have to make. But delegating is a huge, huge thing. Like, what are you really good at as a business owner? And if you're not good at it, give it to somebody else to do. Otherwise, it's just costing you time and money. And I'm also a super organized person. I plan ahead a lot. So I don't like to be rushed.
Yeah.
I plan ahead, write a lot of my content early so that by the time, things in my business are happening in real time, I'm just kind of able to sit there and be like, okay, I already knew this was coming. And be realistic about how much time things take you too. Don't put shit in your calendar and say it's going to take 45 minutes when you know it's going to take 3 hours, because it always does.
Awesome. Well, so thank you for sharing all of this, because we're talking about business, but we're talking about life too, right? So we got personal, so thank you. Well, to wrap up, tell us what's coming up for you in 2016.
Yeah, so we just had our first 6-figure launch in September.
Congratulations.
Thank you. For our brand new 6-month group coaching program, From Under Earner to Unforgettable, for online coaches who want to have that first 10K month and then have it consistently. That's launching January 13th. And then we just have a big year. We just launched 2 private programs called Ascend. One's a mastermind, one's for just private one-on-one. So we just have those programs are some of the main things we're going to be focusing on in 2016. I'm planning on lots of great travel. My top 2 places I want to go are Fiji and Bali. And Heather was with me all last year. We both traveled the world. We were in Florence, Italy, went to LA for a while, went to Paris, Miami, went to Sydney, Australia.
I didn't go to Sydney.
Okay. Well, we traveled the world and did a lot of cool stuff, and I'm actually heading out for the holidays to Kauai for Christmas. And my husband and I have our belated honeymoon in Belize. So lots of travel all over the world, lots of flexibility and like adding more team members so I get to enjoy while this is all happening. And this is we're heading for 1.4 million in revenue this year. So this is what's coming up for us.
High five! I'm so proud of you.
Yeah,
You're amazing. You inspire me. Okay, well, so some advice, like 3 tips for a woman who's aspiring to be a glamorous global entrepreneur.
Great.
3 things you would share with her.
Number 1, stop giving a fuck about what anybody else thinks.
All right, I love it.
I can't say that enough. Again, this is one of my strengths, so I know it's easy to say. But I mean, obviously, I do worry about what people think every once in a while, but not very often. And it's really helped me out a lot. So if you want to have a global brand and you really want to start, like having a big online presence and stuff, I think it's the reason that I say stop giving a fuck about what everybody thinks is because number 2, I think it's best to focus on following your own intuition and really what's in your heart. So number 1, stop caring what other people think. Number 2, stop asking for everybody else to give you answers and to look for validation outside of yourself, and start spending regular time listening to yourself and what would make you happy. If you follow that, you're probably on track. Number 3, if you add to this a fantastic mentor and coach of some kind or consultant or somebody who can be a role model for you and helping you reach whatever dreams you have in your business, then I think those 3 are like a pretty killer combo.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. This was so fun.
So fun.
I love spending time with you.
Ditto.
You're amazing, and you inspire me, and you motivate me. So thank you for shining bright.
And thanks for having me on the first episode of the Global Glamorous Entrepreneur. Helping my makeup so that I could pull off the glamorous part.
Oh my God. You are a glamorous global entrepreneur. Please. That's why I had you on here. I thought you were like the perfect first guest for this. But I really appreciate you. I really want to appreciate you. Like,
Yeah.
I really love you, and I'm really glad that we're friends. I'm glad that we met. And
Ditto on all counts.
yeah. All right. Well, so that's it, everybody. I hope you got some nuggets out of this conversation. I think there were plenty. You're amazing. I love you so much. So yeah, you guys, enjoy this. Share this with people. She's a rock star. We need more women like Mel Pharr on the planet. Okay.
And Heather.
Yeah, me too.
I just
Sure.
stuck my
Why
tongue
not?
out you.
All right. Bye, you guys. Thank you so much. See you later.